We're going to continue to talk until Helen gets into camera mode. Hi guys, my name is Lana. I'm currently living in Harvard Street Commons, aka C House. I'm on a gap semester from Rice. I'm supposed to be a junior. I grew up in New York City. I'm currently in Boston.
Hi, my name is Helen. I'm originally from a small town in Georgia called Statesboro. I recently graduated from Harvard with a BA in neuroscience.
Hey everyone, my name is Shafali. I'm originally from the San Francisco Bay Area and I just moved to Boston about a year ago. I'm here because I'm a student at Harvard Business School, just doing my second year, and I've loved it so far.
Hi, my name is Anushka and I'm currently an entrepreneur and the founder of the company Catalyst. I grew up in Mumbai, India, and I did my undergrad in computer science in India.
So junior year of high school, I had my first internship at the New York City Department of Environmental Protection. I was a civil engineering intern there, so I did a lot of waterways and infrastructure that was surrounding clean water and pipelines throughout the city. And then next year, for senior year of high school, I interned at SL Green, which is a real estate investment trust. And essentially, there was also part of the civil engineering team as an intern, and so I was helping a lot with their construction projects and their development projects across New York City. Freshman year of college, I was also another civil engineering intern at Rudin Management, which is another real estate company. That same summer, I was also a software engineering intern for a startup, and so this startup was part of Antler Residency, which is one of the early stage venture capital accelerators. I was a part of a company or a startup called Mixo Ads, where there I was able to raise around $200,000 for the founder, and I also onboarded around 8 to 10 enterprise clients for the founder. Last summer, I was a software engineering intern at JLL, which is another real estate global firm, and there I just helped a lot with kind of integrating AI into a lot of their property data and managing just some of their existing data pipelines and everything like that. For summer 2026, I'm going to be an incoming commodity trading intern at Macquarie, which is an investment bank. I'll be trading on the power and gas desk, which just means I'm trading just everything that has to do with commodities and global markets in that division.
As for internships I've done in the past, I did 3 internships in medtech, all with Siemens Healthineers. Coming into Harvard freshman year, I was pre-med, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. And then after freshman year ended, I kind of realized that was not the route for me, but I still really liked the life sciences, working in healthcare and medtech. So I decided to work for Siemens Healthineers. First summer, I was at the headquarters in Erlangen, Germany. I kind of just did some data analysis for a CT team. And then the next summer, I wanted to return, so I decided to connect with some people who were in the Boston area. And so then I continued doing research, but this time it was in MR. And then my junior summer, I returned to that same location at Mass General Hospital, and I did a business development internship, and we actually published an article, so that was really great.
My first ever job was actually in recruiting, so I've tried a little bit of everything. And back then, we were doing diversity recruiting for tech companies out here to hire people from Mexico. And so we were working with some major tech companies, and that was a while ago, but I was there for a couple of years, really loved that. I actually was working at DoorDash for a bit, and then I worked in VC while I was in my undergrad. Then I worked as a data scientist for a few years. Right after graduating, I was working at a late stage startup. After that, decided to go try something completely different, and I was like, what's the last thing I would do if I didn't have Harvard Business School as a safety net? And I decided aerospace would be the thing. So I was on a rocket team in my undergrad, really loved it, and decided, okay, you know what, let me do aerospace, let me go try working at SpaceX. After SpaceX, I was like, all right, I know a lot of startup founders, really wanted to start a company, but I realized I was talking to a ton of founders and people started telling me, hey Shafali, maybe you should go try VC. So I decided to go try VC and found a fellowship throughout the school year, and because of that fellowship, ended up continuing with them into the summer, and so I moved back to San Francisco, back to my home roots after a year in Boston, and now I'm here.
I was working for a multinational company called SS&C Technologies, while I also had a startup. I had a retail stationery startup on the side. After 2 years of working at the company, I came to Tufts University in Medford, Massachusetts for my master's in innovation and management. And right out of the master's, I started my own company called Catalyst. Catalyst is a startup where we are helping large organizations modernize their legacy software, especially focusing on mainframe COBOL software, which is basically a very old programming language from the 1960s that most banks and governments have running. And the problem that they face is they don't have the talent that can continue to maintain these software long term. So we help them kind of convert this old software into newer software so that they can hire younger talent and maintain the financial infrastructure and software infrastructure for the next 20 years.
I at first actually was recruiting for investment banking and private equity. The number one thing I learned from the entire thing was how important networking is to like securing your first round interview. Because after you secure the interview, then it's just all technicals and behaviorals and all of that. But if you prepare all those things like technicals, behaviorals, and you don't get the interview, there's kind of like, not to say there's no point, but you need to get the interview. And that's why majority of your time for like quote unquote recruiting is going to be sending out cold emails, mostly contacting alumni or like anyone you think that would like respond to you. And it's kind of a tedious process. So you essentially have to find the people at the firms and, emailing everyone from analyst, associate, like MD, like everyone across the spectrum, and most likely you'll get ghosted for most of them. But when they do call, you have to have these like coffee chats, and there's going to be so many of them. And I ended up with commodity trading just because I think I realized that like investment banking and private equity, after learning a lot about like the industry and just like the way that like the work-life balance is, as well as like specifically what they're working on, I realized like trading was actually like a much more interesting topic for me. And so the exact process that was very different for trading versus like investment banking and private equity is that the interviews are much more like market based. So they'll ask a lot more about like, what do you think about the markets, like what's going on in the news, versus for investment banking, they have like a structured 400 questions guide that they basically make you like memorize and like spit back to you. And with private equity, it's kind of the same thing where like they want you to have like a very specific set of questions like memorized and spit back to them.
So I mainly recruited for internships in the healthcare sector, and I even like recruited for like healthcare consulting boutiques and even like equity research at some point. I even found some equity research internships in biotech specifically, but at the end of the day, those ended up not working out. So I'm not sure what's the best advice I could give on recruiting, but I do think the number one, it's cliche, but networking is key. If you want to get your foot in the door, you have to be able to know people, and that's just the reality of what getting a job nowadays looks like. Even if you like prepare all your technicals, you know you're going to ace an interview, you have to be able to land that interview in the first place. So I think that is my number one advice.
In order to get my SpaceX internship, it was a pretty long process. I actually wanted to work at SpaceX for about 7 years. It was my dream company for the longest time. Starting from when I first joined my rocket club, I was actually a founding engineer there and saw it through from the early days when it was just an arts and crafts project until when we started testing for liquid rockets. And I remember wanting to do it, but I was in consumer tech in data science, and I figured, well, if I have school as a safety net, I might as well try something that's completely different. And I'd been following this guy on LinkedIn for over a year at this point, someone who's working in the data science space at SpaceX. And I saw that he posted something on LinkedIn, so I just randomly messaged him. And I also applied. Then I had a friend from my rocket club who's also there, so I had him put in a referral. And so just by kind of talking to all these different people, I was actually able to get the role. And it was a crazy experience, loved being a part of it. I got to see and meet astronauts. I got to like actually go and see all the engines that were being built. Got to see astronaut gloves getting pressure tested. And we saw the launches happening every few days. It was just surreal.
I've been on both ends of the recruiting spectrum. I've hired recently, especially with my own companies, I've hired talent. And I have applied to bigger companies and worked at bigger companies. So I've seen both ends of the spectrum. If you're looking to get hired into another company, and if you're looking to get hired into smaller companies, so like startups or companies with less than 50 people, my recommendation is always to focus on practical experience and projects. Not so much on credentials and certifications and courses and lead code and things like that. Those very rarely hold a lot of substance in those interviews. For smaller companies, especially when I'm hiring, I always look for practical talent who has actually taken the skills that they've learned at a degree or in a boot camp or anywhere online and applied it into an actual real world scenario, done an actual project or worked with another company on a project that has gone live, something that they can actionably show as proof of what they've done is always a plus point and the deal breaker for many early hiring decisions in a startup. If you're going for bigger companies, then somehow credentials do end up mattering a little bit, but although not that much. I have personally gotten my jobs like at bigger companies not only by my degree, but also through extracurricular and how you show your management skills, your communication skills, your leadership skills. All of these are extremely important for working in a big company, especially your communication skills. Like, you are never ever going to be working alone in a bigger company. You need to know how to work with people. Highlight those team experiences, what you've done with the team as much as you can in your resume. Those always hold a lot of strength and value to the recruiter.
So with all this recruiting talk, if you're still in school and you're kind of worried about not having an internship or a full-time job lined up yet, then keep listening because Notion is here to help you. Thank you so much, Notion, for sponsoring this video. As someone who likes to organize everything in one place, I think Notion is perfect for landing your internship or full-time job easier and faster. If you're a college student in need of a job or a full-time role, keep listening. Notion can elevate your productivity by tracking all of your tasks in one place and provides all kinds of templates to help you get on track to landing your dream job. You can search through hundreds of beautiful resumes and cover letters available in the template gallery. This is much easier than tediously making these from scratch. It's also important to stay on top of each interview deadline, so you can make your own task list, or you can just search job or internship trackers on Notion's template gallery. This is perfect for organizing each position, company, industry, application status, and interview date in one place. Head to the link below to sign up with Notion today for free. Good luck with your interviews and get that dream job.
So I can touch on like investment banking, private equity, and also like commodity trading. So investment banking, there's only 2 rounds. I think the first round is very technical. So they just basically ask you like, walk me through the 3 financial statements. It's pretty easy, but like there's a very standard, like they won't ask you like that much besides like why you're interested. They just need to make sure that you memorize the 400 questions. Similar thing with private equity. I recruited for real estate private equity, and so they kind of like ask you basically like just simple real estate questions like, if this was the like NOI and this is the property value, like what is what and what, right? So they'll just kind of ask you like math kind of things for the first round. To prepare for these, investment banking, there's a 400 questions guide. For private equity, it just depends on what division you're applying for. Make sure you understand the technicals for that division. And for commodity trading, make sure you just understand what's going on in the market. So I think they ask less like accounting questions for trading, more so like global like market questions. Just overall, like what are the market trends? Like what's like supply, demand, like what do you think is like the growth drivers and everything like that. I will say also this is not quant trading. Like quant trading is like totally different. And it's like way more difficult and competitive to get into than in like I think commodities.
My best advice for interview prepping is searching up the answers that are like most asked by those companies that you're interviewing for, and also just like knowing your resume front and back, just like knowing how to speak on all your experiences and how to like explain, how to elaborate how like good things came out of certain experiences and how to like talk about certain challenges and how you overcame them.
I created a Notion and I listed out all the possible interview questions that I could potentially have. And I sort of organized them by section. For example, some of them are a little bit more on the leadership side, some of them are definitely a lot more technical. So by just organizing them and using Notion to do that, I sort of created a few bullet points per question. Then I would practice the questions out loud and do a couple mock interviews with friends. Yeah, I just try to stay organized throughout that because it's really hard to do it. And then for each interview that I had, I would sort of take the pieces and like the parts of all the other questions that I had, like the entire list. Then I would put them under each interviewee and then make sure that I could sort of predict the questions that they were going to ask me. So that's how it happened. So I also got my VC fellowship and my VC internship because of how I stay organized. And so when I was applying to all of them, a lot of them had similar questions. So I'd list all the questions out and then I would sort of draft like a response. So each of the companies that I was applying to like had a little section, and then I would write the answers to each of those questions for each company, and that's how I stay track. Then when I noticed that there were similar questions, I basically pulled the answers from those questions and then put them into another application. And actually when I created the interview questions for the upcoming fellowship, because I was sort of helping with the recruiting side a little bit, we actually pulled from my Notion doc because we were transferring over from like one tool to the other. And so we couldn't properly transfer all the questions. So I literally used my Notion doc just to like take the questions over.
So at the C House, I'm kind of doing 3 different things. The first one is I'm just kind of coding a bunch of like miscellaneous projects that I think are really fun. Second thing is I do a little bit of content, mostly UGC for a couple brands. And then the last thing is I'm building a hacker house in Houston. It's gonna be right near Rice University. And if any of you guys are interested, please contact me. I'm currently building it and we're hoping either to debut like summer or fall of 2026. And yeah, let me know.
So I'm currently in a finance leadership development program with Siemens Healthineers, and it's a rotational program. My first rotation is here in the Boston area, and it's in endovascular robotics, which is a really interesting sector of the company. Other than that, I'm no longer in school, and with a 9 to 5, I have so much more time to work on this channel. So yeah, that is my main creative outlet right now.
So I'm kind of figuring it out right now. Classes are pretty busy and just getting adjusted to the school year. I'm also running the Harvard Hacker House, so that's also taking up quite a bit of time. But on the side, I'm working on some little projects here and there, trying to go to hackathons, and then also trying to work on my family's small IT staffing business. So just working on a few things here and there.
I literally use Notion for everything because you can have just every single thing in one list and like it's so easy to click through. And so I mainly use Notion for honestly like content. Just having like a bunch of scripts in like Google Docs is so inefficient. So I put all of my scripts into Notion, like every single thing. Other thing I do it for is I actually also put my like a gym routine in there. I also put my grocery list in there, which is like so random, but it's just like all in one place.
So the way I use Notion is, since I'm running the Harvard Hacker House, we actually use it to stay organized and keep all the details from our house on here. So whenever someone has a question, we've already put all of our details like the address, the Wi-Fi password, how to get into the house, videos of the house, the floor plan, and everything. So if someone has a question that's already been answered or can be found somewhere, like our Notion page, I just send it to them. And so here's what it looks like, and you can scroll and it pretty much has all the details you need.
So I've been using Notion since 2019, 2020. For a long time there, all of my projects were on Notion in some or the other way. Everything from school to my first company to masters, and then now even my startup, and to the point where I kind of ran out of free blocks, kind of hit the limit in free Notion's free version. So I've been using Notion for a very long time. I've seen its evolution. I was there when they introduced the databases. I was there when they've been doing improvements and all of this, and big supporter of Notion. Absolutely love it. Wish I had a little bit more leeway on the free tier, but it's fine. We'll get to the paid tier very soon.
Oh my god. I think that means that we shouldn't call it the Harvard Founder House.